right, so whenever you're ready, go ahead and come to standing. And I invite you to find a nice steady mountain pose. So assembling yourself from the bottom up. You might take a moment to look at your feet and to engage your feet a little bit, maybe lifting your toes, and then really noticing the four arches of the feet as you maybe set your toes down one toe at a time on each foot, starting with the little toes. You could mimic that with your fingers. It actually makes it a lot easier to do that with the toes. There's like some neural connection there, I think. So that you have a nice wide stance in your feet. And then ground into the earth. Feel your body connect with the mat. And then invite your body to assemble itself from the bottom up, maybe drawing the kneecaps toward the hips, engaging the quads, engaging the pelvic floor up and in, engaging the belly button, drawing it back toward the spine, rolling the arms up and then drawing the shoulder blades down the back, maybe a little wiggle if it spontaneously happens. And let the arms fall naturally by your side as you slightly tuck your chin to draw your head back so that it's nicely settled above your shoulders. And then from here, I invite you to draw your arms up with an in-breath and down with the out-breath. Doing this with the rhythm of your own breath, so not trying to model after what you see on the screen, but maybe even closing the eyes and letting your breath move your body here in a very deliberate way. So that you're sensing your need for air and then accommodating that need with a nice inhalation and exhalation that at the same time translates into movement in the body, arms rising and falling. We'll do that a couple more times, and then the next time your arms move up, leave them there. And catch your left wrist with your right hand, and then make a nice C curve to the right, opening the left side body and the heart, so that you're drawing the left arm back and behind you as you move to the right, and breathe there for a couple of breaths just to feel into this shape of keeping the heart open while you're opening the side body. Sometimes we collapse forward, and so use some proprioceptive feedback about where your arm is in space to really come into this shape with discernment. And with your next inhalation, draw yourself back up, switch the clasp of the wrist. So now left hand pulling right wrist, draw the right arm back to open the heart and move to the left in a C shape. With an open heart, really opening that right side body from the top of the hip into the armpit and all the way along the arm. Notice how this might change the breath when you're compressing one side of the body. And then inhale to rise, and then move into this shape, exhaling into the shape and inhaling out of it, switching sides, keeping the heart open, noticing any tendency to collapse forward with that opposite shoulder, and very deliberately drawing it back to open the heart. Again, moving with the breath, enjoying this deliberate dance of your body with your energy. Maybe tuning in to what arises for you in terms of whether you enjoy this or find this irritating. What's the affect that arises for you as you're floating side to side? Exhaling and opening the heart. Inhaling and rising up, making yourself tall. Last round. Making sure that you end with the left hand clasping the right wrist. Stretching the arms up and then bringing them down. Take a few shoulder circles here to take out any tension that may have crept in. Notice if your legs just naturally want to take a different stance here. Mine wanted to be a little bit wider, and that does feel better in my hips. So just notice how you're using your body feedback to make decisions about how to position yourself in space. And then after your next shoulder circle feels complete, go ahead and bring your arms out behind you, separate to begin with, and then clasp your hands, interlacing the fingers. But notice what this does to your shoulders. If when you clasp the hands into an interlace, your shoulders collapse, you might need to grab your strap to have a wider hold on a strap so that you're not sacrificing the opening of the heart for the reach of the hands. If your heart can stay open while the hands interlace, then by all means do that. Using your body feedback to make nice choices about which variation of a posture to choose. With your next exhalation, I invite you to come into a gentle half lift with the arms resting on your back. And then tune into the back body, noticing the sensation that arises from the backs of the legs. Maybe there's a stretch in the hamstrings, maybe there's a stretch in the lower calf muscles, soleus, gastrocnemius. And then make your own decision with this feedback from your body as to whether you would like to release further forward, letting the crown of the head perhaps move toward the floor. And then notice whether the arms want to float up behind you or whether they would rather stay resting on the sacrum. And then notice if this wanting comes from a place of being worried or afraid to do it, or from a place of being not in the mood to do it, or from a place of protecting your body from something that it shouldn't be doing it. Just noticing how you're making the decision in this moment about which variation to find. Take a couple of rounds of breath in whichever variation of this yoga mudra you have chosen. And then if your arms are lifted up behind you, with your next exhalation, lay them back down on your back. And then with an inhalation, bring yourself upright. Nice neutral spine, and release the arms to your side and maybe shake them out. If you had your feet apart, you might want to step them in a little bit. And then I invite you to use your blocks. We'll work a little bit in some lunges. And I personally find that my heart can stay way more open and way more attuned to my body feedback if I use blocks under my hands. But it's your choice. It's your practice. So just know that they are absolutely an option. And go ahead and place them at the top of your mat and stand maybe a foot or so behind them if you are using them. And then from here, I invite you to inhale the arms up. And then as you exhale, go ahead and bend at the hip joint, using your beautiful built-in forward fold hinge to come into a half lift. This time, bringing the hands either to the blocks or to your shins. And take a nice deliberate breath here. Sensing yourself into your body, sensing with your internal eyes whether your spine is in neutral or whether you're rounding, and making adjustments to arrive at a shape that's most auspicious for you in this moment. And then from this half lift, I invite you to step the right foot forward so that it's either at the inside of your right hand or your right block, and the left foot steps back so that you come into a lunge. And in this lunge, test for a moment whether you're dumping all of the weight of your body into your hands or whether you can actually float the arms out beside you. And I'm not saying you can't use the floor or the blocks. I'm just saying challenge yourself not to use that support as a way of just releasing all of your weight, but instead use it just to bring a little bit of balance into the pose. And then draw the forward femur back into the hip socket and the back femur forward into the hip socket so that you feel really integrated in your hips, very stable in your body. And bring a little bit of pulsation to this lunge. So as you exhale, maybe dropping the hips a little bit lower without losing the integration of the forward leg drawing in. And as you inhale, bringing the hips a little bit higher. So it's a very narrow range of motion. You're just pulsing with the breath a little bit. And yet within that movement, challenging yourself to find stillness in the hips. Femurs grounding into hip sockets. You're always welcome, of course, to bring the back knee to the ground if that's more auspicious for you today. And then the next time you have pulsed, go ahead and bring your lunge into a neutral. And as you inhale, straighten or move towards straight your forward leg so that you're coming into a modification of a pyramid shape here. Still drawing the forward femur back and the back femur forward so that the hips are level side to side. And feel this stretch in the backs of the legs, just noticing where the challenge is for you. And of course, knowing that you can always bring a little bit of a bend into your knees if that's more auspicious. And then we'll flow with our breath again. So as you exhale, flow into the lunge without losing the integration in the hips. And as you inhale, flow into your variation of pyramid. The spine stays nice and long and stays neutral, crown of the head maybe moves forward. And let your own breath move you here. Really working with curiosity about how the breath is showing up, how the body is showing up. And perhaps noticing the stories that the mind is trying to tell you about this. And then the next time you're in your pyramid pose, stay there. So both legs are straight, both knees are extended. And yet again, feel into the back body. And then this time, maybe you want to walk your blocks back a little bit. And then go ahead and turn the back foot out and the forward foot in, so that you're now in a wide-legged forward fold. And come into a half lift in this forward fold. From here, you can decide if you want to continue to use the blocks or if you might want to change setting or even come to the floor. Just noticing what works for you as you move into more of a forward fold than a half lift. Coming to your variation. For this particular shape. And as you settle here with the head below the heart, take a moment to note what's present in your mind. Maybe recollections of when you've done this before, maybe little judgments about how this posture is working for you today. Maybe there are emotions associated with this forward fold. Simply notice whatever arises for you as you're settling in here for a moment. Bowing head to heart. Bowing perhaps to your inner wisdom as you make little adjustments in the posture to make it more auspicious for your body, for your breath, even for your mind. And then the next time you inhale, come back to your half lift. Find your blocks again, and then pivot the left foot out to the left and the right foot forward so that you've switched back to a lunge, but you switch sides. You now have the left leg forward and the right leg back. So. And now in this lunge on the other side, it might be tempting to think that you know what this feels like because you've already done it on the other side. And so see if you can come to this with beginner's mind. And once again, assemble yourself very consciously, drawing the forward femur back, back femur forward to find integration in the pelvis. And to let yourself sort of sense the differences between your two sides, because most of us are somewhat asymmetrical and our shapes tend to feel just a hair different from side to side, or sometimes profoundly different from side to side. And then as you settle into your lunge on this side, if it felt fine to do this, you might once again pulse very gently with the breath, letting the hips move toward the floor just a tiny bit as you exhale and pulsing them up toward the sky as you inhale. Again, this is not a huge range of motion. It's a very subtle movement, and so tune into what the feedback, the sensory feedback from your body is here. And notice your tendencies to maybe ignore that feedback or to become worried about it. Maybe even a tendency to strive to make the range of motion bigger, just noticing whatever shows up. Does this feel pleasant or unpleasant as you're pulsing up and down a few times, challenging your balance and coming into your body. The next time you have pulsed up, go ahead and come to neutral. Make note to check in with your pelvis to feel that sense of integration, and then as you inhale, stretch the forward leg to come into a version of pyramid. Your choice of where you place your hands, how far you straighten or bend your knees. And then I invite you to tune into the back of the body, feeling where sensation arises for you. Maybe in the hamstrings, maybe in the calves, maybe even in the feet. Sometimes people can even feel this stretch all the way into the crown of the head. So notice. And then gently begin to pulse here as well, so that as you exhale, you pulse into your lunge. And I said it backwards. As you inhale, pulse into your lunge, and then as you exhale, pulse into your pyramid pose. And notice if you can give yourself permission to move with your own breath here, Or if there's a fire inside of you that would like to move more quickly, or if there's maybe a tendency to want to not move at all and just hold the shape. Just notice whatever your inclination is in this moment here as you pulse with the breath. And notice what arises for you in terms of how you feel about this little movement. Is there a sense of enjoyment or a sense of irritation? Does it seem pleasant or unpleasant? Just be there with that sensation. Not trying to fix it, just being curious about whatever shows up. And then the next time you've pulsed into pyramid, stay there for a moment. Recheck into the back body. Maybe your blocks want to move back a little bit under the shoulders. I know mine wanted to do that. Well, it wasn't my blocks that wanted that. It was my body that wanted that. So I decided to accommodate. Feel the stretch and notice where it's most profound. And maybe notice if there is a way to feel sort of a pleasant sensation in this stretch. Or whether there really is nothing pleasant about it at all. And notice if the mind wants to spin a story about that. And then go ahead and turn the back foot out, the left foot forward, so that you're once again in a wide-legged half lift. And then this time, I invite you to bring your left hand directly under the nose, either on the block or on the ground, using your own discernment about what your body needs in this moment. And then bring the right arm out to your side so that it's parallel to the ground. And draw the arm into the shoulder socket as you press into the left hand and open yourself up into a bit of a twist. And as you're in this twist, notice, can you give yourself permission to let the left hip move just a little bit? Maybe the left knee wants to bend. Can you attune to your body to see what is a helpful way of being in this posture? Finding the discernment of being wise in how you align the body without giving in to aversion or fear or attachment to arrive at a certain point here. With your next exhalation, let the right arm travel back down and let it come to rest where the left hand was. So now the right hand's under the nose and the left arm moves out to the side, parallel to the floor. Yeah. And then draw that arm into the shoulder socket as you press into the right arm. The right hip swings forward a tiny bit so that you can come into this beautiful twist on the other side. And once again, notice, are there side-to-side differences in your body? Are there side-to-side differences in your energy? And are there side-to-side differences in your mind and how it responds to this shape? Make a wise decision about the position of your head. Maybe you want to look up, maybe you want to look straight ahead, maybe you want to look to the floor. If you're not sure, you can try which of these feels most auspicious in this moment. With your next out breath, go ahead and descend the left hand to the block to join the right, and then move forward and back a few times in this half lift, wide-legged forward fold. Maybe releasing any tension that built up in the body or in your energy. And maybe tuning into any tension that's present in the mind. Maybe tension in the form of little judgments or evaluations, or maybe tension in the form of emotions that arose from the twist. And intuitively decide how far you want to move forward and back here. To really explore with some joy or some playfulness this movement beyond the hands and then beyond the feet. You might even speed it up a little bit, almost in a Kriya-like way. And then if you did speed up, go ahead and slow it down again and then come to stillness. And heel toe your feet toward the center of the mat, staying in a forward fold. You can always bring the block to a higher setting for your hands. And then come into a ragdoll, clasping opposite elbows with your hands. As you hang for a moment here, no place to be but here. Tune into the sensations from your body, your breath, and notice if there are stories in the mind. Two to three more rounds of breath. Surrendering to this moment, surrendering to this space. And then let the arms release. And to wait for an inhalation to reverse swan dive your way into extended mountain pose. And then inviting the palms to reach toward each other so that with an exhalation you can draw them through your central channel all the way to your heart. And then from here, go ahead and take a slight bend in the knees and jump the legs apart yet again, or you can heel toe them if you prefer. Release the hands down and turn the right foot forward. You can make a decision about how you want to turn the left foot. Maybe it's parallel to the back of the mat, maybe it's 45 degrees, maybe it's more acute, whatever feels good for you here. And widen the stance side to side so that your pelvis can be in between the legs, facing sort of at a diagonal. So rather than all the way to the side or all the way forward, be kind of in between and just notice what this feels like. And from here, bring your arms up to shoulder height. And take a moment to reach the fingertips away, sort of shooting rays of energy forward and back. And then from that openness, draw the humerus bones, the arm bones into the shoulder socket to really bring integration into the hips. And then do this into the shoulders. And then do the same for your hips, drawing energy upward through the legs, maybe lifting the kneecaps, engaging the quads, and then with an exhalation, bend into that forward knee to come into a variation of warrior two. And as you're resting here, take note of where your shoulders are. Are they aligned with your hips? Or are they reaching for the future? Or are they holding on to the past? Just notice. And invite them to come into the present moment. You might also take a visual of your forward knee to notice if it's to the right or the left of the foot. And if it is, you might invite it to be aligned with the foot. I don't care so much whether the knee is ahead of the ankle or behind the ankle, but it is most auspicious for it to be in line with the foot, side to side. And so just give a visual. And if it's kind of falling inward, which is what lots of knees tend to do, you can even take your right hand and support that knee a little bit to bring it in line with the foot. You could even keep your hand there, give some pressure to the knee and let the knee give some pressure to the hand to begin to build some strength in these adductors. And then notice what happens for you energetically here as you're embodying this very beautiful warrior shape. And invite your breath to become smooth and soft in the midst of challenge. And go ahead and turn both palms up for a moment. And then take the back palm and bring it to the back thigh. And make a peaceful offering to the world by bringing the forward arm past the head, opening up your heart, opening up to something greater, inviting maybe a sense of joy and openness into your experience. And then as you exhale, go ahead and let yourself come forward and bow forward with humility. Maybe the hands come to the ground. Maybe you have a ragdoll arm, or maybe you're kind of resting a little bit on your forward thigh, noticing what feels auspicious for you and choosing that particular shape with humility. Maybe offering yourself up humbly to something greater, realizing that you're honing these skills through yoga for a bigger purpose, something that's beyond yourself and this moment on the mat. And then with an inhalation, windmill the arms back to warrior two. Straighten the forward leg and turn the toes in so that you're in a wide-legged stance. If you want to keep working in the arms, you can leave them up, or you can give them a momentary rest by bringing them down, maybe making some shoulder circles. You decide what feels auspicious for you. And then we'll turn the left foot toward the other top of the mat, and the right foot can turn in any amount. Again, sort of with that idea that you're creating kind of a diagonal with the pelvis, so not quite forward, not quite to the side, but this very natural sort of orientation of the pelvis between the feet. Maybe the feet want to be a little wider for more stability. Just notice what feels good to you here. And from here, you can bring the arms up. Draw them out, shooting out rays of energy, and then draw them into the shoulder sockets to really create integration. Draw the energy up through the legs. Notice how this might change the posture from the inside out. And then when you feel ready with an exhalation, bend the forward knee and move into your very powerful, very beautiful warrior two. And once again, get a sense of your shoulders. Notice if they're above the hips, or if you're reaching for the future or hanging back onto the past. And then make a decision where you want to be. Maybe you want to be in the past, maybe you want to be in the future, or maybe you want to be in the present moment. And just notice if there are any little movements that would make this posture more pleasant, more auspicious for your body, more calming for your mind. This is a pretty powerful posture. So it's nice to bring ease into it where you can, and then turn both palms up for a moment. And then turn the back palm down, let it come to rest on the back of the right thigh as you make a peaceful offering to the world. Opening your heart up towards something greater, offering yourself toward a greater purpose, maybe. Breathing here consciously, naturally, maybe even lovingly. As you then, with an exhalation, release yourself into your humble warrior, choosing a variation on this side, not just assuming that what you did on the other side is the right thing here. Maybe the hands are on the ground, maybe the hands are in ragdoll, maybe you're putting some weight on that left thigh. finding what works for you, and then surrender for a moment with humility, with the knowing that there's always something new to learn, something new to explore, some habit to identify and transcend. Take another round or two of breath. And then with an inhalation, windmill your arms back up to warrior two. Straighten the forward leg, turn the toes so that you're back in this wide-legged shape that is so beautiful. Reaching out into the world, making yourself available with an open heart as we then sink for a moment into goddess pose. Making your own choice about how you want to have your arms here, how deeply you want to sink into the pose, and noticing if you can keep the heart open in the midst of challenge. Can you still offer yourself up with love, with compassion, with kindness? And then with your next inhalation, rise up, lower the arms, and heel toe the feet in. And take a moment to bring your hands to your heart. If you feel balanced, you might choose to close your eyes for a moment as you observe your own heartbeat here. Very gently scan your body from the inside out. Scan your breath, your energy, maybe even your affect. As you're resting here for a moment, watching your nervous system re-regulate all on its own. So your heartbeat is gently becoming softer and slower. And maybe marvel in this incredible capacity of your body to find its balance, to adapt, to challenge, and then to be able to return to neutral in a way. Your body is capable of this, your breath is capable of this, even your mind is capable of returning to a sense of equilibrium, a sense of equanimity. And then from that place of stability, you might release your hands, you might open your eyes, and then just shake it out a little bit. And rather than come